obandesu. The face appeared at his third-floor window for the 7th time on a Thursday night. Same hour, same window, same expression. Except this time he looked more carefully and realized the expression had been changing slowly, night by night, getting closer to something human, something it had not yet quite achieved. Close your curtains tonight. It is time for chapter 123. A face at a third-floor window should be impossible. No balcony, nothing to stand on. No way for anything living to be positioned at that height outside that glass. He knew this, had told himself this on each of the previous 6 nights, and had almost convinced himself, until the 7th night when he looked long enough and carefully enough to see what he had been missing in the brief shocked glances of the previous nights. The expression on the face was not fixed, had not been fixed, had been changing, incrementally, night by night, as though whatever was outside his window was working toward something, practicing, refining, getting closer to an expression that might pass for human, and was almost there. A man lived alone in a third-floor apartment in an urban building. The window of his main room faced a narrow gap between his building and the next. Not a street, not a courtyard, simply the space between 2 structures. No balcony on either side, nothing at window height. He saw the face for the first time on a Monday night in late autumn. He had been reading when something made him look up at the window, a face, outside the glass, at the 3rd floor, looking in. He looked away immediately, looked back. Nothing there. He told himself it was a trick of the reflection, the glass, the light. He closed the curtains and did not think about it again until the following night, when it was there again. He made himself look at it properly on the 3rd night. A face, human in its general structure, pressed close to the glass, looking in with an expression he could not immediately name, not threatening exactly, simply wrong in a way that was difficult to specify. He looked for perhaps 3 seconds before he had to look away, long enough to register the details. The face was pale, the expression still, the eyes fixed on him with the particular focus of something that had found what it was looking for. He closed the curtains, sat in his apartment and thought about what he had seen, about the impossibility of it being there, about the fact that it was, and about the expression he had not been able to name. That had stayed with him through the rest of the evening and into sleep. If these stories have found their way to you, if you find yourself returning to this quiet room, there is something small you can do, like and subscribe. It tells me, and whatever else watches from this room, that you were here and that you intend to find your way back. He began photographing the window on the nights it appeared. Not to capture the face, he found he could not make himself look at the camera screen while it was there, simply to document that something was registering on the glass from outside. The photographs showed nothing conclusive, a slight disturbance in the reflection. Possibly. He kept them anyway. On the 6th night, he forced himself to look for longer than 3 seconds, long enough to compare what he was seeing to his memory of previous nights, and noticed something that reframed everything he had been telling himself about the previous 5 appearances. The expression was different, not dramatically, simply shifted slightly from what he remembered, as though in the nights between appearances something had been working on it, adjusting, refining. I wonder, have you ever seen something outside a window that should not have been able to be there? A face? A shape? Something that disappeared when you looked directly at it? Perhaps you have looked away too quickly to be certain of what you saw. Granny is always listening. On the 7th night, he made himself look for as long as he could bear, long enough to understand what he was seeing clearly. The face was closer to human than it had been on the first night. That was the only way he could frame it, as though whatever was outside his window had started from something not quite right and had been working toward something more convincing. The expression on the 7th night was almost an expression he recognized, almost the particular arrangement of features that belonged to a specific emotion. Almost, but not quite. The not quite was the most disturbing part. The sense of something that had studied human expression carefully enough to nearly reproduce it. That was 1 or 2 nights away from getting it right, and that would presumably keep appearing at his window until it did. Shakkoi, that almost cold in a way that almost human is always cold. He did not wait to see what the 8th night brought. He stayed with a friend for 2 weeks without fully explaining why. When he returned, the face did not appear again for some time. He told me he had begun to wonder whether leaving had disrupted something, whether whatever had been practicing at his window required a specific observer, required him specifically to practice on, to refine its expression for. He said this with the particular discomfort of someone who has arrived at an explanation that is worse than having no explanation at all. He keeps his curtains closed now, always, even in the daytime. He told me he has not looked directly at that window from inside the apartment since the 7th night, because he is not certain what he might find looking back, and whether it might finally have gotten the expression right. I think about what it means to practice an expression. Humans learn expressions from other humans, from watching faces and mirroring them over years of social development. It is such an ordinary process that most people never think about it. But occasionally, something tries to learn this the other way, from the outside, pressing close to glass, watching a single person in a lit room, working on the arrangement of features that might pass, might convince, might allow whatever is outside the window to do something it cannot currently do, because it does not yet look right enough, and whatever it intends to do once it looks right enough requires looking right enough first. I have always found faces that are almost right more unsettling than faces that are entirely wrong. Almost is a very particular kind of wrong. Another whispered story from Japan, shared quietly here beside the kotatsu. Close your curtains before dark. Every night, every window. Do not look out of them after a certain hour. And if something has already appeared at a window where nothing should be able to appear, If you've already seen the face pressed against the glass on 1 or 2 or 7 nights, do not look long enough to notice whether the expression has changed since last time, because if it has changed, if it is closer to right than it was, then whatever is outside your window is almost finished practicing, and once it has perfected the expression it has been working toward, it will no longer need to stand outside the glass. It will have learned everything it needs to do whatever comes next. After the practicing is done, if this story stayed with you, if the dark or the shadow feels a little closer tonight, you know where to find me. I am always here beside the kotatsu, watching, waiting. And if you wish others to find their way here too, there is something small you can do, like and subscribe. I would not object.